We're going to be building a flat pack design object here, a little phone stand. Now the first thing I'm going to have to do is create a document. I'll call this phone stand V3 because I've made 3 of them. And I'm also going to use my name. Now it's time to start our first sketch. And to do that, we should go back and look at our sketch. Now we'll come back to look at our sketches so we know what we're drawing. These are the sketches that we're looking at here. I'm going to draw this flat piece, and I'm going to draw this. Here we go, it's time to design. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is start a new sketch here in the top plane. I'll rotate it to look at that. This particular shape I think is going to be easiest with a line tool. And I'm just going to draw it out. Now I could do this with rectangles, but I wanted more of a triangular shape. I think I want that to come to a point. There we go. And now I would like to start some dimensions. That I want to be, according to my drawing, 0.5 inches. Ooh, that got big. That's okay. And this, according to my drawing, had to be about 8 inches. And this guy here had to be about 6 inches. So that brings everything back to its proper size. Now, let's see. This guy here, I want that to be 1/2 an inch just so it matches that other one. Ooh, I went crazy, so let me just bring it back. I do not want it on the bottom. Back to the top. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I still gotta add a little bit on the back, which I think is 5 inches long. I'm gonna use a rectangle tool for that. This rectangle tool is not going to work. I'm going to need a different rectangle tool, which is this center point rectangle. I don't know if that'll work either, but we can try it. Nope. So I don't know if a rectangle tool will work here. But let me just try one more thing. I'm going to make a rectangle. I want it 0.25 by 5. So I'll make it 5. And the thickness will be 0.22 because that's the thickness of what I'm using. And now I'm going to rotate it. The easiest way to do that would be this constraint tool. I can make it parallel to that. That's no good. Let's see. I guess I have to dimension this first to lock it in place. So I know I want that to be about 1 inch according to my drawing. Oof, I don't like that. I want it to be 1.5 inches. So it's okay if you change your sketch here, right? That's a regular thing. All right, so now if I try that parallel constraint between here and here, it doesn't like it because that wants to be horizontal. Get rid of that and it's allowed. Now, if you get stuck in a weird situation like that, let me know. I can help you. It's what I do. I'm going to dimension the distance from there to there. I'll make that 1/2 inch. Looks a little crowded down here. I'm going to change this 5 dimension. In fact, I might get rid of that dimension entirely. change that. Change that to a driven dimension. No, actually, I don't want to do that. I think I want that to be set, so I'll make it 4.5. Yeah, that'll be fine. This is a little bit big, but that's okay. So we're looking pretty good. I gotta get some fillets on here and round off these ugly edges. 1/4 inch fillet. Yeah, 1/4 inch looks pretty nice. Now, if you're having trouble choosing the fillet, zoom in on it. It'll be easier to choose. All right. So now I got double left click, accepts the fillets, return to accept that 0.25. It looks like a mess right now, but when I accept the sketch, I think it'll look pretty clean. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Nice. All right. So now I'm going to extrude this. And I'm going to extrude it 0.22 inches. Because that's the thickness of the wood I'm using. So there's one of my sides to my phone stand. I need another one of those in my base piece. And it'd be easiest if they're all just locked together. So let's see, maybe I could make my base piece next. Now, I know this is going to slot into it. So what I'm going to do here is start a new sketch on this face. Now that sketch 2 there, you see how it's like stuck to that face. That way, I'll be able to draw on it, and it'll be in the exact right spot. I'm also going to use this tool called Project Geometry. When I click on that, it basically drew a box around anything that touched the sketch. And now I can sketch around that, the shape that I want. It's going to be something like this. I'm just going to get a rough shape in here because I'm going to use dimensions to make it correct. So I think I wanted this thing to be 6 inches overall here. And I had that because the other one was 5. So actually, since I reduced the other one to 4.5, I'm going to reduce that to 5.5. And that would want me to put the distance from there to there as 0.5. And that way, these distances will kind of match up. I don't know if that's a good idea because I'm going to want this whole thing at an angle. So I'm actually going to delete that. I may have chosen a more difficult way to do this. I'm going to have to delete this. Constraint so that I can get this thing to be a little bit angled with respect to that. So maybe that this is a hard way to do it. So I think I'm going to do this slightly differently. I'm going to cancel what I'm doing here, and I'm just going to get rid of this sketch. Then I'm going to create a new part. And this part I'll create in the sketch, and this is going to be that second part. The thing that holds the two pieces together. And I know that it's going to have a shape that's kind of trapezoidal, I guess is the right word. ask your math teacher if you're unsure. I know that that was supposed to be 6. But wait, I changed that from 6 to 5.5. And I think I want this to be 5.5 too. And I think I want this to be 1 according to my sketch. And I wanted this to be 3 according to my sketch. So now I have this trapezoidal shape and I have to draw 2 slots in it. They're each going to be, they were 5, but I think I changed that to 4.5. So they're going to be 4.5 inch long and 0.22 thick. So I'm just going to first draw the rectangle because it doesn't like to come in properly. So it's going to be 4.5 here and 0.22 thick there. And now that we have that rectangle, I'm going to make that rectangle parallel to here by using the parallel constraint. Oh, it doesn't like it. Now again, you run into a weird situation like this, let me know and we can figure it out. The problem is that this constraint is holding it parallel. And this constraint is holding that also. It's not parallel, horizontal. So delete those two. I don't think that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm just going to undo and undo. So now there's some problem here. What is the problem with my sketch? That one is that. We want to keep that, but this one is that. That's holding that parallel. And this one is horizontal. All right, there we go. So it takes a second to figure that sort of thing out. And I'll work with you on it. So what did I have here? Well, I want to say that looking back at my other part, I had 1/2 inch there. So this actual distance is what I want there, and this distance there, so that it'll fit right in. I could put a dimension on this part to figure out what the size is. 0.45, 0.46. Now you notice that comes in gray. It's because that's what's called a driven dimension, which is it cannot be, it won't change the size of your object. It's only going to tell you what the size is. So 0.29 and 0.46 in the bottom. So if I make it 0.25 top and bottom, it should be good. So it looks like my 5.5 is going to be a little too big. I'm probably going to have to change that. Let's first do a dimension here. So we only want dimension between that point and that line to be 0.25. And I think I showed this as 1/2 inch, 0.5. Oof, that's not going to work. So it's going to have to be 1/4 inch, 0.25. Okay, that seems all right. But now my 5.5 is too big. So I'm going to dimension down here. I know that I also want this distance here to be 0.25. We are going to get, when we do that, our sketch is going to turn red. Same problem. It's overdefined, but I can fix that. I'm going to change that to a driven dimension. Whoa, it went crazy. And I don't want it to go crazy. So I'm going to undo that. I'm going to undo the other thing. And we're going to figure this out. Now, one thing I can do is just change both of these to a smaller number and futz around with it till it's about what I want, which is 0.25. And that's not an awful way to do it. I mean, basically, that's 0.7 right now. I'm just taking 0.45 off this. So let's change that to 5. And change this to 5. And it's going to work it out. Ends up being 0.2. It's totally fine. So that's probably your easiest solution right there. Now, I could draw another one of these over there. But we can do another thing, which is called mirror. And mirror is a very cool thing. So I'm going to make a line, and I'm going to call it a construction line, because we're not actually going to use it for drawing. And you notice if I hover here, I get that little box. That means I'm going to snap to the midpoint. And then up here, snap to the midpoint. So now I have this dotted line there, and I'll hit escape to get out of that. Thought I could do that, but I'll just get out of that. That dotted line is the center of my object, and it's construction line. So I won't use it for actually building, just for helping to construct. And here's what I'm constructing. I'm doing a mirror command. There's my mirror line. And the entities to be mirrored are that. Come on, that, and that. All right, all set with my mirror command. And now I have these two, they're in the exact right spot. The only thing that remains is maybe some fillets. Clean that up a little bit. 1/4 inch fillets, looks nice on the other side, looks nice here. Don't want to fillet those interiors because that's where the stuff is going to fit. And, oops, I was supposed to double left click to accept it. Let me try that one more time. Double left click to accept it. Again, this looks pretty, and hit enter to accept the 0.25. Once I accept the sketch, it looks a lot cleaner. Now I'm going to extrude this to a depth of 0.22. So this is the other piece. Now I have to get 2 of those pieces. I have to get these 2 of these pieces into here. And the way we do that is with an assembly. First thing we got to do is insert. So the assembly is already created for us, but if you wanted another one, you could create one here. We don't need to, we're just going to use the one already made for us. First thing, we'll insert. And it gives us a list of our parts. I want 2 of those, and I want 1 of these. Now I'm going to zoom out, take a look at this. All right, those are the things I want. Ooh. I just have to figure out how to put them together. And this is actually the hard part. So we're going to use something called the fasten constraint. We're going to fasten between, to choose 2 points to fasten. So I think the best way will be to fasten. Hover over this side, get to this corner. I'm going to fasten that corner. And you see when I did that, there was a little blue arrow pointing upward. So it's pointing upward. That's key because we want the blue arrows to line up. And then on this one, it's going to poke right through. So that's going to line up with this face right here. And again, right on that corner and the blue arrow pointing up. Now the 2 stick together. They're rotated in the wrong direction, so I'll just click them around. Now the problem here is there's got to be an offset because it's at an angle. And I'm not sure this is the right constraint to use because it's a very strange angle. In my offset, I would have to put in a rotation angle. And it's going to be hard to figure out exactly what that is. Unless I go back to Part Studio 2 and the sketch 1, and I measure the angle using my dimension tool, which is 11.537 degrees. So back here with this fastened 1, I can rotate around the Z 11.57. Look at that. I know what I'm doing. It's amazing. All right, so there's that. One more on the other side. So let's do that fasten constraint. Zoom in, hover over this surface, click on the corner, rotate around. Which corner? That inside corner. Zoom in, hover over this surface, click on that corner. Again, we're in the right place, but we have to flip it around, and then we have to rotate it. We're going to have to rotate about Z. So once we get there, now we'll offset, rotate it about the Z axis because that's the blue one that's sticking away from it. And it's going to be 11.57. Let's see what happens when we try that. That was the wrong direction. Luckily, all we have to do to go the right direction is choose negative. And it works out perfectly. Oh my God. All right, so there we go. Oh no, I forgot those little doohickeys on the front. Well, luckily, that's really easy to fix. So I can go right back to this wrong part. I can go right back to this part and that sketch and add the little shelf that my phone's going to sit on. That was 6 inches down and approximately. And check the phone, which is right here. Make sure. Yeah, that's a good idea. 6 inches down. And they're going to stick out a ½ inch. So I'll just draw a little triangle here. Like that. And then I will dimension it from here to here. It's going to be 6 inches. And got a dimension tool that kind of messed my triangle up, but I can do that. And I think I would like that to be the same ½ inch, 0.5 there, and 0.5 there. And I will choose to, now the extrusion still doesn't have it. Back to my extrusion. You know what? I still have to add that area. So now I add that area. And there it came in. It's kind of sharp and still doesn't look that great. So I can go back to it and I can put some fillets in. Whoa, that fillet's way too big. I'm going to get out of the fillet tool. I want that size fillet down here. Doesn't like that fillet. All right, maybe it doesn't want a fillet there. I do definitely want one here. I just want it much smaller. 0.05. Doesn't like filleting there. No idea why. You know what I bet it is? Bet it wants. Nah, it just doesn't like it. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Except the sketch comes in. Look at that. It's beautiful. Now if I go to my assembly, it automatically updates all that. So my little shelf is there as well. So my phone will sit right there. There's space for my charging cord behind it. This thing holds it all in place. And it's kind of cool looking. Not very cool looking, just kind of cool looking. Next step will be to manufacture that using vCarve.